Welcome back to In the Mind of Music with Nate and Isa, exclusively here on iporadio.com. Formed in January of 2012 from Sydney, Australia, we've got Tim. He's the bassist from Faraway Stables on the phone with us. Such a pleasure to have you call us from all the way in Australia. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks yourself.
Very, very well. Thank you. So I gotta ask the first question, kind of just to ease into our interview. Can you tell our listeners basically about the band and what inspired you to make the music?
Yeah, so we've been in band for about 4 or 5 years now, and it was just a matter of all of us as friends just wanting to make music. We just love music, and we thought, well, why don't we do it? So we got together one day and made it happen, and 4 or 5 years later, here we are, finally getting around to releasing an album.
Now, I read when I was researching you guys earlier that you guys were part of different bands, and you guys kind of just came together and started this project. So you guys had been musicians before. You guys weren't just kind of starting fresh with Faraway Stables.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. All the bands we were with, like, comparable to how much effort we put into Faraway Stables, were basically just garage band projects, sort of just mucking around and nothing too serious. But we all had some ability with music to some extent. But that being said, we're always improving and hopefully we're always improving and always working on the craft and always trying to build our skill set.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
No, I was going to say, I'm glad that you said that, because that's actually something we kind of touched on earlier today, was that a lot of people, they don't constantly build and try to learn and try to become better or learn something new that they didn't know before. And I think that's huge in not only the sustainability of a band, but also in the ability for it to get better.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. Before writing this album, we were just looking at so many different types of things, like learning about orchestral scores and figuring out how horn arrangements might work in a section. We didn't actually end up using any, but just looking at the actual musical theory of why something like that works and how we might incorporate that into sort of alternative rock music.
Right.
And I can already tell I'm going to like your music a lot more than I expected because of the orchestral stuff. Well, not expected.
Awesome. Well, yeah. No, I can understand. Well, hopefully the next one's going to be bigger and better in that sense as well.
No, that's exciting.
So talking about what's going on right now between Rage and Serenity, it has been out for about 11 days since its release on May 11th. Love the number 11 here. Reviews are raining down the compliments on the album. However, the best I've seen is from Rogue Incorporated telling listeners that this is an album that takes on an identity of its own and has the potential to be considered one of the best within the genre. So tell us about the making of this debut album. How easy or challenging was it to create a sound that makes your band stand out from the rest of its genre?
Well, I guess it's a mixture between being... We incorporated a lot of duality on the writing of this album, so not like the title between Rage and Serenity, it was both easy and hard. And the sound came naturally to us, but that being said, it was a natural progression of 5 years as well, so you could say there was some sort of difficulty in that aspect. But we've played something for 350 shows since we started, so that sort of helped us find the sound and build the sound and what worked live and what didn't. And yeah, it was sort of a case of stacking things on top of one another and finding that we were eventually growing towards something. Not that it was necessarily planned, but we just wrote the music that we wanted to hear, and people seem to be enjoying it, which is always good.
Yeah, that's right, because then it's equally beneficial, because if you're writing music that you love to hear, you're going to love to perform it, and therefore people are really going to believe your stage presence and really get into what you're doing when you're live.
Exactly, and we all love to listen to it as well. Most of the Spotify views are probably coming from us, so we enjoy giving it a spin as well. I mean, if you don't make music that you don't enjoy, you're probably in the wrong business.
Yeah, no kidding. So it sounds like you guys did a lot of the writing and all that stuff, and then you performed it by yourselves, practiced it as a group before you actually did the recording?
Yeah, I mean, we've been writing the album for like 4-ish years. So we've had a lot of the songs for a long time, and they've all sort of become Frankenstein, just their original self to some capacity. So we might have played like one song on the album that's completely different from how it ended up being recorded like 3 years ago. But I like to think it's all worked out for the best in terms of coming out with a better song. So yeah, it's something that we try to bring into the studio before we record it, and that way we get to sort of craft it and see what works, see what doesn't, and sort of get everyone's vibe on it, saying like, this guitar part doesn't work, this drum fill might be better here, sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely something we brought into the studio.
Yeah, no, I love that because I feel that not enough bands actually do that these days. And that's something that has changed, I think, in the last decade, is that a lot more bands just kind of go in and write there in the studio and never really give the song a chance to mold into its final form, which you can never really quite tell how a song's going to be until you've played it live.
No, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, and I like the way you said you Frankensteined it. It's almost like it's awesome because you just like improvise this awesomeness and it's just like, bam, it's alive.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, there's some parts that in the record that jumped out and said, like, well, the first thing we came up with, and like, that's it. But there were some parts that, took a little while, and we had to attach an arm here and put a leg there just to make it a bit sort of something unique and something special. But yeah, hopefully by the end of it came out better. I mean, it's always a subjective thing to say, but I'm hoping it did. And we'll maybe we'll release some of the old demos at one point just so people can laugh at them.
Right. So you guys just released a music video for the song Phantasm from the album as well. Mm-hmm. What is the main message you guys want your fans to take from watching and listening to that song?
That song specifically is probably a good representation of the album in general. That's, I guess, why it was released. In terms of message, we're not going to be one of the bands who try to have a message. We just write songs for almost writing songs' sake. We don't actually go out there and say, believe in your dreams or don't feel too bad or don't feel happy or whatever. The songs are very much a reflection of where we're at the time, and if people can take something from that, that's great. But by the same token, we're no therapists or psychiatrists or philosophers, so we just write.
Mm-hmm. So as a band, you guys have played in support of some big bands from the United States, such as The Offspring mm-hmm. and Paramore, and they're right. So, are there any plans on touring the States in support of Between Rage and Serenity?
Oh, we would love to. Absolutely love to. It's just about making sure that the timing is right there. We're talking to a few labels and agents over there who could always potentially get us on some tours. A headline tour might be a bit far away, but it would be good if one of these labels or agents came to the table and said, all right, yeah, we'll chuck you guys on a Paramore tour in mm-hmm. America, which would be good, but you never know.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Would that be something that...
Yeah, I mean, you can dream, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, would that be something that you guys would consider as signing to a label by shopping, when you're shopping, the album, the labels, if you guys are considering it? I'm not sure if you are, but would that be something that would be part of, an agreement that they could, help support the album in the United States?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're very new to the United States market. We've done a sort of college tour before, but still sort of developing such a massive market compared to Australia. Mm-hmm. But it really is sort of the holy grail for sort of a rock band to sort of start touring the States. We've got friends in bands like Hands Like Houses and Tonight Alive who started doing it way back when, and now they're headlining venues across the country over there. So it's definitely in the back of our minds. It's just a matter of converting it from thought to actuality, I suppose.
Right. Okay. So your fan base is increasing. You guys definitely have, the growing likes on Facebook, especially since the music video for Phantasm has come out and Between Rage and Serenity has come out, and you guys are getting amazing reviews left and right from different publications. So how do you feel at this point about people going online and sharing your music and downloading it for free off YouTube and other things?
Oh, it's just how it is nowadays. I'm more than happy for people to do it. It's what I did when I was growing up listening to music. It was how I was able to get a vast amount of music into my system without being whilst affording to eat, I suppose. Just kind of what happened in the mid 2000s, and it's a shame that that's the way it did. But by the counter argument, it also made that same technology that allowed people to do that. Gave the ability for bands now to record from their house or to record quite cheaply and to spread their music quite easily. So it's kind of a catch-22 a little bit. So yeah, as long as people are listening to music, I really don't mind. For me, I grew up listening to bands and thinking, wow, I would love to do that someday. I would love for somebody to be laying in their bed listening to my music, and if they do that now and they get it for free, I mean, that's fair enough. That being said, if they want to support it on Spotify or iTunes or buying a physical copy, that's also great.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been doing a band since probably the mid to late '90s at this point, and I used to have an issue with it, and I'm slowly starting to see the good side that actually happened with it. And you brought up a very key point in it, that it kind of made it to where it was a lot easier for people to start learning to record their own music, get it out there. But another thing that it did is it brought about the concept of Spotify and these other streaming companies that you can, if you do it right and you get enough people streaming your music off of there, you can make some good money off of Spotify. I mean, as hard as it is to do. But I think it's definitely kind of changed the industry. In a way, it was worse for the artist at first, and I think now it's kind of taken the power away from the labels and given it back to the artist because of that. And I'm slowly starting to agree with that.
There was such the labels were such, and they still are to some capacity, but they were such massive gatekeepers back then.
Oh, yeah.
And if you didn't please the gatekeeper, then they had complete control. So there is a bit more power towards sort of independent artists and people who do want to do it themselves, and even just someone who casually wants to write a song and upload it and put it to the world, then that's doable. So, I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, I wish people would still buy records, like physical records, because you can make good money off them. But you've got to sort of adapt with the times, and if that's what's happening, we've got to think about solutions around that. And if it means people buying merch or promoting merch to those people who might be downloading songs, for example, then that's one possibility. Or, I mean, if I had all the answers, I'm sure I'd be in a different line of work. But it's definitely a challenge. But it's a good thing that people can listen to music. It's also a bad thing that they have to maybe steal it. But that's just how it is. I mean, as I said, I put my hands up. When I first started listening to music, my friend showed me this thing called LimeWire or Napster, and I'm like, oh, cool.
I remember that.
That's something I can use. Yeah, I was 14 and had exactly $0 and wanted to listen to all these bands, and there was just no other option as opposed to downloading music. So it was very hard for people who were teenagers in the mid-2000s not to form that habitual habit of download or expecting music for free. So that's just how they've been programmed.
Yeah, totally. But the one thing that they can't get is live shows for free. So I mean that's at least once a band has come out and these people love your music, then you get a chance to go out and you still are able to make your money. Unfortunately, it's you're kind of already in a hole because it costs money to record the money, it costs money to get out to perform the song, record the songs, and perform the songs. But after a certain amount of time, hopefully once everything gets going, you're able to get yourself out of that hole and get ahead in it.
Well, exactly. My philosophy on the subject is nobody needs me to make music. Nobody says you have to wake up today and make music, otherwise people will starve or people will die first. So it's for me, if there's a demand for it, there'll be a demand for it, and people will want to support that demand.
Totally.
You just have to now try a little bit harder to make that demand, which is tough. But that's what makes it a challenge. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of almost everybody's doing it, but
well, no, I mean, but not everybody's doing it, because then
not
they
everybody's
realize
succeeding
how
at it,
challenging it is and how much it really takes to actually go, to make it past each phase, and not a lot of bands understand, and then they kind of break off.
To be 100% honest, I'm actually kind of excited, because the one thing that's been really cool, I'm a musician as well. I've toured the States and been doing it for a long time now, and I am in awe about the amount of talent that there is in this world. I mean, it used to be that there was a very select few, and it seemed like, there was like, we were all 1 in 100, 1 in a million people that do it. Now it's just amazing how many people out there are just talented and writing really good music that you never would have even expected.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it can only be a good thing until you really reach that critical point of there's mathematically no songs able to be created that are unique anymore. But until that point, it must be a good thing, because you just get a complete diversity of music that is able to be made, and hopefully more music to be enjoyed. Granted, that makes it harder to sort of be a rock star, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Okay, so I know we touched a little bit on live performances, live shows, and things like that, but the theme of the show tonight surrounds what to do if your band keeps getting a low turnout at live shows. So how do you guys promote your shows and motivate people to come out?
Well, what we've done is we've formed what I hope is a pretty sort of tight-knit fan base that we make ourselves accessible to pretty regularly. So we're open to people messaging us whenever, we hopefully reply pretty quickly. But yeah, we've got, and unfortunately we can't remember every single person, but we've got a pretty solid list of people, for example, on Twitter, who've engaged in us in one capacity or another. So if we know that we're in the area, we'll make sure we shoot them a message and just check how they're going, and make sure they know we're playing in Melbourne, for example, which gets the message across, because being on Facebook, not many people do see the post, and not necessarily everybody sees the post, unfortunately.
No. Yep.
Which is just how it is. So yeah, we make sure that we sort of really connect with the fans and make sure that they know how much we appreciate their support, and it seems to be appreciated. I hope it is anyway. So yeah, that's basically it.
We just came across a really, really good tip that we were talking about earlier in the show, just in general for the people who are listening, because our show is really, truly about advice for the musician's ear. So we talked about, in one of the tips, we talked about giving kind of like a rewards program. As many times as they come see you live, you give them kind of like a hole punch card. I don't know if you've heard of those, but you just kind of like hole punch every single time. Yeah.
Like a subway card or something.
Right, exactly. You got it. So they come into your show, and you give them like a little sticker or whatever you want to do, right? And then at the end of their little thing, they get like a CD or a shirt or something like that. So I thought that was pretty genius. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, anything can work. Any out-of-the-box thinking can be somewhat successful. It all depends on sort of what you're willing to do and how much time you have to sort of accomplish tasks. It's always a balance between. It's the big debate we have between the bands, is sort of the balance between promoting and making sure we can perform songs to an acceptable level live. So it's like the chicken and egg situation. Do you make sure you're the tightest band in the world to nobody, or do you make sure you're the worst band in the world to 1,000 people? It's always a tough one. But nothing is off the table at this point in time. My friend Lee always tells me, because he's worked in the music industry, and he always says there's no such thing as selling out anymore, which I think is pretty much true.
I totally agree with that.
People can always criticize bands, or it's very easy to criticize bands for sort of that capacity of selling out or trying too hard to promote. It's just simply what you have to do now. There's long gone are the days of trashing hotel rooms, and I mean the Warped Tour documentary was called "No Room for Rock Stars" or something like that, and that's a very poignant phrase to describe what it means to play music in 2017. You just have to purely love the music, because for the most part, that's all you're going to get. And if you can do that and enjoy it, then you've already succeeded. And that's what you have to tell yourself.
Totally.
I like that. I like that you said that, what it is to play music in 2017. That is really awesome to, if you're listening right now, you're a musician, that's a really good thing to remember, because it's really good, valid advice for that kind of stuff. So
I'll have to copyright that one then.
Yeah,
Right.
you're going to definitely have to
definitely.
copyright that one.
I'll put it in a fortune cookie.
Well, I was going to say, before we let you go, I did get a chance to check out your music video, and that was the last one, right? Well, no, the creativity one. But, before we do ask the last question, I should say, I did get a chance to check out the Phantasms music video, and very good music video. I love the cinematography done in it. There was a lot of really cool, subtle hints and changes of the Phantasm disappearing and appearing in places. Really good job.
I'm glad somebody noticed that.
Yeah. I do video myself as well. One of the things I've loved about being in a band is it kind of forced me into recording and doing video and photo and all that stuff, so that we could, not have to spend the money on our own, just do it ourselves. Yeah. But very well done, awesome video. So for those of you out there, do definitely go and take a chance to go look at the Phantasm music video by Faraway Stables on their Facebook. Is it only on your Facebook, or do you have it on YouTube as well?
It's on Facebook and YouTube, but I mean, even nowadays, YouTube's sort of
links to
falling out of the wayside for music videos. Yeah, it's all on Facebook, and you can jump on Spotify, jump in on Facebook, or whatever. It's all there.
Awesome.
Okay. So, Tim, what do you do outside of music to rejuvenate your creativity?
That's a good one. I guess just step away from it. My degree's in physics, and I run a tutoring company on the side as well. So
oh wow,
I step away from and just sort of immerse myself in sort of academia for the most part, and then once I'm sort of brain melted from that, then that feels always a good place to come back to music, because I'm just completely over that. And vice versa, when I need to step away from music, I just need to get into something a bit more thought-provoking in terms of the academic side of things. So it's always a balance between trying to be creative and being academic, but it's always a good way to get away from music by just getting away from it, and that usually recharges the batteries or creative juices to some capacity, because you're away from it and you kind of miss it. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, kind of thing.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
So you have a degree in physics?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
That's it. And what was your company?
My company is Scholar Education in Australia. So we're working on a few things like apps and whatnot at the moment, but we basically teach physics and maths to high school students. I believe you have tutors. Tutors would come after school in America.
Yeah.
That's basically what we do here.
That's awesome.
It pays the bills, and it allows me to have some free time to do interviews during the day and write music and work on all the things associated with it.
That is so cool. That is just so cool. A lot of my family comes from a background of physics degrees and engineering degrees. So,
yep. And my grandfather wrote a whole book of statistics with mathematics.
Yeah. So that's just cool.
Oh, wow.
That's a very abnormal
very
thing to hear a musician say.
Yeah, if you go look up Carl D. Vogt, that's my grandfather, and he writes Carl, like Karel D. Vogt, Vohnout. He writes a whole book of statistics and mathematics. And it wasn't accepted.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, it wasn't accepted here in the United States. Side note, not to go into this too much, but it wasn't accepted here in the United States because they said it was too complex for the university students here. So, I mean, the guy is a genius, and it's definitely one of those books that are meant for people who really, truly understands math, but that's not me, trust me, but that's him.
If it makes you feel any better, Australia is well and truly behind physics and maths to the US at the moment. We were on tour, and we were on the bus staying at some camper van, some trailer park sort of thing on the at California, and there were some girls next to us on the trailer, and they were studying. And as I walked past, we said, "Oh, hey, what are you guys studying?" And as they were happened to be, they were studying physics. I'm like, "You guys need a hand, or I'm happy to sort of help out." And I hadn't done that sort of physics since university, and they were doing it in high school. So I was just like, "I'm going to need a second to reacclimatize myself with this." So it's a little bit seems to be more advanced in the US than Australia, which is that makes you guys feel better.
No, it just varies. Well, my grandfather.
It varies on the state as well.
Yeah, my grandfather.
Oh, okay.
My grandfather is from Czech and Italian background, so he wasn't born and raised here in the United States. He was born and raised, Europe and everything. So he comes from a completely different schooling as well. So I think has a reason. But yeah, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and play some of your music. That's pretty exciting, and I'm not sure whether we wanted to play another song other than Phantasm.
No. There was actually one more question we almost forgot.
Oh, yes.
We almost completely passed it
Yeah,
up.
somebody actually asked a question.
One of our friends, another Nate, wanted to know how you guys came up with the name Faraway Stables.
So that's pretty much a question we get all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because, so coming up with a band name at the best of times is hard.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always, everything's taken, nothing's unique. I'm not sure if the band Silverchair ever broke in America very well. Are you guys familiar with that?
I know exactly who Silverchair is, yes.
We actually interviewed them.
Okay, awesome. So,
no.
Oh, really?
No, never mind.
No.
I guess we didn't.
Oh.
No, Silverchair is the one that did Tomorrow, and yeah. Very good band.
Yeah. They were probably our sort of biggest influence. I met Grace, our guitarist. He was busking one day, and he was playing Silverchair, or maybe I asked him to play Silverchair. I can't remember. And they have a DVD called Live at the Faraway Stables.
Uh-huh.
And we were out drinking one night, trying to come up with the band name, and for whatever reason, I'm going to claim it. I think it was me. Grace would probably claim it was him, but I'm pretty sure I came up with the possibility, or it was maybe a light bulb moment we both had together. But one of us did, and we thought, yeah, why not? That's a name that isn't taken, and there we go. That's what we did. That's how it became Faraway Stables.
That's awesome.
There's no sort of mystic answer other than we stole it from Silverchair, which we met with their lawyer. We were signed to Sony, who Silverchair were also signed to, and their lawyer happened in the room one day. And we're like, oh crap, we're going to get in so much trouble, and he was cool with it. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. No, that was a great band. Frog Stomp was one of my favorite CDs they put out.
Yeah, they were the band going up from I think they were the second or third album I ever bought after like The Offspring and I can't even remember who else, but it was a massive influence on us. And as they're a band that started off as sort of a grungy rock band that just progressed into just musical geniuses. So they're always a band that we refer back to when we're trying to write something and think, okay, what would Silverchair do, kind of thing.
That's awesome, man. That's a great band. So we do have, it looks like most of the entire album, right? It looks like we've got 10 tracks.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you, which song do you like to play live? And we'll go ahead and play that one.
Well, we're about to play Paradise for the first time live, and I think lyrically that's my favorite song at the moment. It always changes, but I think that's just not to be too sort of obnoxious, but the pre-chorus in that I think is awesome. There's a really cool riff in there. So that always gets me pumped up.
All right, awesome. So we'll go ahead and play Paradise, and we'll also play Phantasm because that is your newest music video off of the new album. All right, so listeners, this is Tim. He's the bassist from Faraway Stables. And listeners, if you're in Sydney, make sure you get your tickets to their release show on Friday, 9th of June at the Red Rattler Theater. Also, make sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel and also go like and follow them on all their social media platforms to keep up with this chart-climbing band. Thank you so much, Tim, for spending this Monday, I guess midday for you, evening for us,
right.
time for us.
No problem.
Thank you so much. We had a great time. Very informative interview for our listeners. And please keep in touch if you come around the Arizona area in the United States, because we definitely love to check you guys out.
Well, and you guys are based in Sydney, right?
No. Based in Sydney, yeah.
Okay.
So likewise to you guys. If you're in Sydney, come and go a beer.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, we were actually planning on going to Sydney at some point in time here in the future, because I work part-time at the airport so that we can fly wherever we want at this point. So definitely reach out to us on Facebook and find us on Facebook, and we'll keep in touch for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Sounds like Sounds like a plan, man.
All right, Tim. Take care, and you guys be safe out there. And
All right, guys.
hope to hear soon.
All right. Bye, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go into Paradise from Faraway Stables. I
Right.
can't believe he brought up Silverchair. And you're all, we interviewed him.
No,
Sorry.
I was actually thinking of Silver
Silver Tongue?
Silver Tongue. I was like, oh, we interviewed them.
Yeah, when you said that, I was
my
like,
goodness.
no, we have not interviewed Silverchair.
All right,
I would
so-
be like ecstatic if we interviewed.
So we're gonna go ahead and play
All right, fine.
Paradise. He loves to play that live. He hasn't played that yet. He'd love to play it, so he's going to. Actually, on his show with the rest of the band, Faraway Stables, on Friday, June 9th. And then we're gonna go ahead and follow that up with their newest released music video for Phantasm. So go ahead and stick around. We'll be right back.
Here we go.